We've been collecting up fish in a Japanese fish market.
We've been playing the two-player version of Sakana Stack, published by Huff No More. Hi, I'm Libby, this is Julian, and together we are BoxedMeeples, and today we're going to be playing through a two-player version of the game Sakana Stack. Now, the normal rules for this game play 3 to 5 players, but today we're going to be playing the two-player variant of the game, and I think if you like these very small box, easy to travel about with games like Scout, ones like that, then this is something that you're going to want to be keeping an eye out for. It will be coming to crowdfunding very soon, so we'll leave the links and everything for that there. But this is a card play game where you are trying to shed all the cards from your hand and try and score as many points as you can from the variety of cards that are coming up. You can play either the same number or the same color of card, the same suit of card, and you will see the rules as we go along.
Yeah, so there's a long history, I think, of Japanese kind of card playing games. And when this was first announced, it was just a 3-player plus. But fantastic for us, there is now the 2-player game.
Yeah.
So the game plays largely the same as it does for the normal 3 to 5 player counts.
Yeah.
It is important to remember that the 2-player game is a variant on the normal rules, although the kind of gist of it does remain the same.
Yeah. You're basically, the scoring works slightly differently in the 2-player game, and also in the 2-player game we're going to be having various stacks out potentially at different times, where in the multiplayer game you would only ever have one stack per player, and then who you're trying to beat that stack or not, and then that either can get scored or it can't, whereas in the 2-player it's a little bit more flexible, and we're allowed to have multiple stacks. So I think it's a nice interesting variant that doesn't make it seem at all like you're adding in a dummy player or any of that kind of stuff. It just is adding a little mechanism in that means that it really works with 2.
Yeah, so obviously we've played through this quite a few times, but the rules are still slightly in flux. So if we make a rule mistake or we do something crazy, we've tried to put a note on screen that we've made a faux pas, or indeed if the rules have changed since we're playing this to the version that's coming to crowdfunding. But we're going to, explain the rules as we go. But the first thing you have to do when playing as 2 players is to remove the latter end of the cards. So there's 6 suits in this game, and we've removed the 8, 9 and 10 from every single one of these suits. So it's worth bearing that in mind. There's going to be nothing in this deck higher than a 7. Next thing we need to do, obviously, is shuffle the cards, which these have been thoroughly shuffled already.
They've been played many times. So.
And we're going to deal out 12 to each person. Obviously, there's 2 of us, so there's going to be 24 cards in play, and the rest will form the draw pile. Yeah,
and the top of the draw pile, you can always see it becomes sort of the catch of the day in this fish market. And so, obviously, if you're not able to play your set of cards, your stack down, you would have to take the catch of the day into your hand. But also, if you have a stack that you're playing that suits the catch of the day, then you could potentially add that to your stack and make it even more powerful. And I think that's a really lovely mechanism that you'll see coming up.
So there's 2 ways this game will end. Either one of us completely clears their hand, or indeed if we've gone through the draw pile twice. So once that happens, it'll be the end of the game, and you're encouraged to play multiple rounds. So finger crossed, that's 12 cards in each hand, and obviously this will form the catch of the day draw pile. So let's have a look at our cards in hand.
I like to put mine into numerical order just because I find it easier. Then I can see what colours I've got from there. But obviously you can arrange your hands however you will. It's
important to remember this isn't a kind of trick-taking game. So straights and runs don't really play into this. It's more about kind of building up sets of specific numbers, because those numbers added together are what we're going to be dealing with here. That's the power of the stacks we're placing, is the combined number of all the cards. So shall I go first?
Sure.
Because there's nothing out. I can play pretty much whatever I like. And I see that the catch of the day is a 6. Now you can only use the catch of the day if you are laying cards that match it. You can't just take the catch of the day and say that's my play.
No, even if it would beat the stack there on its own, you have to have something eligible in your hand as well as that card.
So I'm going to play 6s, and I'm going to use the catch of the day to bolster that one more card, which means the dominant colour at the moment is this beautiful light blue.
Yes, so at this stage I can either play more 6s and try and beat the total value of 18, which is pretty high, or I can play a different number, but it must lead with this same coloured suit. So that is...
It's a strong start.
It is a strong start. That's pretty tricky to do. So I will be collecting the catch of the day and adding that to my hand. Now, and you can now score.
Yeah, because you've collected a card from the catch of the day, I can take one card from each of the stacks I've laid out. Obviously, I've only laid out one, so I'm going to take one card, and that is 1 point at the end of the game. And now, obviously, your turn was picking up a card, which means it is my turn to play.
And this is where the two-player variant begins. So usually in a multiplayer game, obviously the next player would be trying to beat now the 12 and using this colour. But in this case, with two-player variant, Julian is now allowed to play a second stack, which means that when you score next time, potentially you could be scoring 2 different cards because you've got 2 active stacks. But also when it comes back to mine, I can then have a bit more options in terms of what I'm looking to try to beat. Maybe there are different colours out, maybe there are different numbers, and that might help me try to work out what's in my hand that will beat his stacks.
Now, I am going to play another stack of, so this one is just 6, but we have the lovely blue again, which last time you couldn't contribute towards. So I'm hoping on the fact that you don't have any blues in your hand. Maybe you might well have picked some up, which limits you to basically being able to play a run starting with 2, or so a set starting with 2, or a set starting with stick. It's important now that you can choose any of these things to start from. So you have a selection of now 2 colours, 2 different numbers to play from. And if you manage to beat both of these, you can wipe out everything on the board. It doesn't happen often. Very exciting when it does.
I am going to beat the 6 stack. So I am leading with that yellow fish card.
You are.
And then I have quite a few other 7s here.
It's very much destroyed that.
Yeah, so that will now go into the discard pile, which we could leave here because we will cycle through that again if we get that far. And Julian now has 28.
28.
Leading with a seashell.
Yeah, and because Libby now has a stack in play, I can't just play anything I want. I've got to consider this. So 7s would be great if I had a lot of 7s. Yeah. There's only 6 suits in the deck. You've laid out 4, so this isn't going to happen, really, is it? My other choice, obviously, is matching the seashell, which I can't do, so I am picking up.
Which allows me to score.
Score a point.
One of my 7s.
And it's Libby's go, because my action was picking up.
Exactly.
No, even though you've laid that one, you still have to consider what stacks I have in play.
And it's a...
So it's a blue or 2s.
Yes, and I do have a problem here because of those blues and the number that I need to beat with them in hand. So I have options that would beat that number in terms of, but they're not eligible for me to play because they don't match either the number or the colour. So in this stage, I am going to have to pick up again, which is a little frustrating.
It's good for me because I score a point.
You do.
And obviously, as you are going on, the hands are getting slowly weaker. Particularly when you're playing higher numbers, it goes from here. It was reducing from a power of 6 to a power of 4. But if you laid obviously 5 5s, that's reducing from a power of 25 down to a power of 20. So it does become easier to beat your opponents as you go on. You
know, this power drops very quickly, but you kind of do guarantee that the first couple of cards you're probably going to be able to bank as points, and then it'll get tougher afterwards.
Well, it isn't good news because your power of 21 is still there, and you're still leading with the greeny tealy colour, which I do have some of that colour, but I don't have enough to beat 21, which means I am picking up and you are scoring.
Excellent. Right, I'm now trying to just beat 4.
4, with leading with a pink. An urchin, sea urchin.
Urchin, yes. And what I can do actually is lead with that sea urchin and lay another one.
Making a total
of
8.
So I've got a 14 and an 8. And then obviously the orange fish or the seashell. So
I would lead with either the orange fish or the seashell. Now, I do have a total of, not giving too much away about my hand, enough enough fish to play this, but they aren't, we're not doing runs. We're not doing, it's not the nature of the game, no straights in this game. So I can't immediately see any way I can do better than that, but what I can do is tie with your 4s.
Oh, so in this case, you can tie, and I won't then be able to score. And you've managed to get rid of some things out of your hand, but it sort of is that sort of stalemate move.
Having multiple stacks in your play area is great, because then when you're picking up, you're getting more score back for you. But obviously, it does leave you slightly vulnerable, because it's now created more opportunities for Libby to play down cards. So yeah, we are looking at orange for urchin 2.
And talking of having multiple stacks in my hand and being able to, when Julian can't play, being able to score more, that is the reason why I'm going to do my next move, which is leading with the urchin. So we're going from this stack here, using the 1s, and then taking the 1 from the stack because it matches for the catch of the day. So it does even up with this one. And it's got a few cards there. So, I mean, it's likely to be able to be wiped out easier, but if it isn't, if the colour or the number doesn't match, then you've got more chance of being able to score the cards.
Now, it's worth noting that if you are laying a card, say in this case a purple shell, and you lay down more points, say I lay down a 5 shell and then another 5, I can't then wipe out a different stack. I have to wipe out the one I'm challenging.
Yeah.
So
if more than one stack are challenged with the cards that you've laid, if more than one,
if you can meet the criteria,
you can wipe out more. But they would have to both be eligible.
So there's loads of options here, but I'm still in a bit of a pickle. You can't lay cards down to boost existing stacks. You have to create new ones.
Yeah.
Not given that gives very much what I'm doing. So I've got 4s, 8, and 14 to beat. With it's not looking good. So I'm gonna have to reluctantly pick up a card, which is going to give you 3 points.
Yeah, I enjoy that a lot. So yes, now that that was a good tactic to have put down that 3rd stack, because it has meant that I do get to score. But now we're looking very easy for Julian to be able
wide
to
open
beat.
right now.
Yeah. So now I am going to, I've still got to beat one of your stacks, and what I'm going to do, I think, is lead with this lovely orange fish. So we're taking on this stack here. 6 doesn't beat it, of course, but I, again, am eligible for that catch of the day to make it 12. So that stack is dead as a dodo. Right.
We are in a good place, marginally. But I'm trying to be a bit fancy and see if I can get rid of multiple stacks. I don't think I can.
Well, I mean, there's a possibility with this yellow situation.
2 yellows
here. If you can lead with a yellow and beat 7 points, that would wipe out both.
That was my thinking. I don't think I can. I don't think I can. So let's be less exciting. I'm studying my cards, thinking that I'm sure I've missed something obvious here, but there is leading with the urchin.
Yeah.
2 5s wipes out the 4.
It does indeed.
And it's worth wiping out cards, because at the end of the round, whatever's left in your play area contributes towards your score.
Right, so I've got a 10 and a 4. My only option. Oh, that doesn't beat it. I can't beat, unfortunately.
2 points for me, but as we said earlier, this does leave you feeling vulnerable. This is good though. because 7 matches the 7. And oh, look, there's another 7 there.
That is gone.
A lot of the time you're just kind of laying cards out just because you need to. You don't want to, when there's lots of stacks out, the last thing you want to do is not be able to lay cards out and have your opponent pick up a load of cards.
Yeah. Right, I can now lead with this one. So obviously going for that. And then let's think about this. Let's go like that.
Oh.
Which I probably wasn't the wisest move because I already have the shrimp prawn out. And if Julian is able to beat 12, it will wipe out both of these stacks. But he hasn't attacked this stack for a while, which would leave me thinking that he isn't capable of doing that, so I thought that would be the safety net here with the shrimp, but we will see. And obviously the lower you get in terms of the cards in hand, the less able you are to actually play something that's going to work. So there's an interesting kind of crossover into doing really well in the game and someone maybe feeling like they're falling behind, and then all of a sudden they've got lots of options in their hand and the other person doesn't, and it can really flip the game over, and all of a sudden you're managing to put this stack, this stack, this stack. And we did play a game where it was right up to the end. There was a player with no points at all. And then there they are fanning their cards out. The rest of us just have a few cards left in hand, and it just went points because we couldn't beat those stacks that were out.
That was in a multiplayer game, multiplayer game. So back to the cards in hand, or indeed the lack of good cards in hand. I think I'm going to have to pick up because it was all looking good, but then you stuck in the catch of the day and things went up in smoke. So that's a point bounty for you. I'm spending my turn picking up.
Right, and we have a 5, 2, and 14. Well, oof, that seems harsh, doesn't it? I am going to play this one. And this not only beats this, but also evens this. So it won't wipe that one out, unfortunately. But it does definitely get rid of that one.
I was really hoping you'd have to pick up.
Sorry.
You have a lot of very vulnerable cards there.
I do. You can't tell me you can't beat a stack of 2.
There's a 3.
For this stack? Okay, can you do anything about this one?
And there is a 3.
Ah, there we go. That's 2 stacks. Gone. Oh, not into my score area.
That's not scoring those.
Gosh. Right. I've only got 1 card left in hand, so the chances of me being able to beat one of these stacks are slim to none.
So if you were to play this would trigger the end of the game.
It would. In fact, I cannot.
Yay!
So we will pick this. You would have noticed that this was a 6 urchin and Julian had a 5 urchin down, but as we said before, I can't pick this up and play it to beat that because you have to lay it alongside something else from your hand.
So your action was to pick up, so it's my turn to play. Obviously, I still need to keep in mind what you have there. Not enough to beat, I'm afraid.
Oh, that means I've scored both of these.
You scored both of those, and all you have to do is be able to lay down your 2 cards to trigger the end of the game.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be able to lay them both down, but in fact, can I beat either of your stacks?
I hope you can't.
I cannot. So I am picking that up, and you are scoring. So you can see as you get thinner on your cards, it does get more and more difficult to actually be able to finish off and lay them down.
I can't help but notice you have no stacks in front of you.
I don't. So
which
this
gives
means
me
you can lay whatever you want.
Gives me free reign to go crazy down in Japanese fish market land. Right. Pair of 2s makes a 4. And still got, so you've got a turquoise, the blue.
I can beat your blue little snake.
Well, this is good news.
Is it?
Because I can take that 4 and I can use this 4. Leading the 4 beats the 5.
I think it's bad news, really.
So that's being wiped out.
Yes, it has indeed. It has indeed. I am picking up
and
a 5, and you are scoring.
I am. And what's great is I have a pair of 1s, which is against nothing, and that triggers the end of the game.
So this left in my hand would be discarded. Any of these that are still in play of Julian's will go to his points pile, and that is the end of round 1. You can do multiple rounds if you so choose. I mean, a lot of people would obviously play 3 rounds, but
and you can do it as a best of 3, or you can do a cumulative kind of point thing. We tried both. It largely works out the same, but let's count out the cards, because what do the cards mean?
Prizes?
Points. And what do points mean?
Points mean prizes.
Points means bragging rights.
Right, I see.
Your comfort.
10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It is a glorious Julian win.
Glorious Julian win. Yeah, that's quite a low score for me. There's been many a game where it's been sort of closer to 18, that sort of area. So I knew when I counted these up, it wasn't going to go well.
And you can see how kind of seesaw it is throughout the game. There's times where I was thinking, okay, you've got a bounty of points here. You've got a big stack now. I don't have much at all, but then it depends on what cards come up on the catch of the day. And obviously, had one of us picked up this card that had been placed in there, we then enter into these get shuffled. We then entered into the second phase of that. So we found more often than not they end in both ways.
Yeah, actually, it's been a bit sort of 50-50 into whether you do manage to get rid of your hands or whether it is that stack that's run out. So it's good to have that option either way in terms of the end game.
So that has been Sakana Stack. Obviously, once I said, there may be some rule variations, either because we've made a mistake or because they've changed as the game's developed more.
Yeah, these are quite new rules for the 2-player play set. So,
but
it really does work. And I think it gives that a 2-player option to those kind of games that we love. I mean, we've taken this out on the train and traveling and things. And that's where I think small card games shine, and to have something that we can play together quickly and easily traveling, but also you can play up to 5 when you've got a few people around, and it's a quick and easy game that anyone can pick up.
Yeah, it's not a complicated game. It's simple to explain. If you played games like Scout, you will feel kind of the DNA of it from there. But what's great about this 2-player mode is that it isn't just a case of you just have a dummy hand being played, or you're playing two-handed. It does feel like a proper thought-out 2-player mode, and I don't think there's enough kind of these card games that do have a 2-player mode that works so elegantly. Yeah,
I love that swing of laying those different stacks, so then your opponent has different things to try to compete against. You're opening up those options for them to be able to play, so it doesn't feel like you're kind of stuck in never picking up the correct card, because your options for that always open up. And of course, if you can't play because the other player is scoring, what you're trying to achieve changes. So then again, you're then more likely to be able to play next time, and it's got a nice balance to give that flow between who can score when and how.
And I think in this mode, particularly in the 2-player mode, laying out the multiple stacks is quite fun, because you have to then debate, I have enough cards in my hand to lay out a super powerful one that's going to be hard to beat, so potentially that's going to be scoring every single round and preventing your opponent from doing much. But maybe it's worth just splitting that into multiple stacks you do, because then you're going to score twice. So there's kind of interesting thought processes that go through as you play it. But obviously, if this does seem like the game you would enjoy, there's links below to the crowdfunding campaign, so you can get on board and back this if this is your kind of thing. And if you're new to us, we post YouTube videos twice a week, always about board games. So consider subscribing and joining in discussion. Do you like this kind of game? Have you played 2-player card games? Is this one that appeals to you? And how fantastic is this artwork? Yeah, it is really lovely. It really is. But as always, thanks so much for watching.
Bye.